Hey everyone, this is Tracy Friedlander. You're listening to Crushing Classical, redefining a thriving classical music career. Today on the show, I have my good friend SHANA Tucker. SHANA is a cellist, singer-songwriter, and teaching artist, and has created a career completely her own. We talk about her path from lessons in youth orchestras and the traditional cello path to discovering a path that really works for her and who she is. We also talk about her work as a teaching artist, something I find so inspiring because I truly believe that this is an untapped career path for musicians who want to find a unique way of teaching and incorporating education into their performance career. SHANA and I had this conversation back in January, way before everything happened with the coronavirus, so that is why we make no mention of it in our chat. To follow SHANA and hear her awesome work, check out shanatucker.com, and to follow her on social media, you can find her at SHANA Tucker, SHANATUCKER. You'll find those links in the show notes. Also in the show notes is an awesome video SHANA has just created to guide musicians on doing live streams for the first time. What a valuable resource that so many musicians need right now. Check it out, it's in the show notes. Also, I have just opened the doors to a new program to help you get started audience building now. This is a crazy time, right? Musicians have had their live concerts canceled and everyone is scrambling to get their students online to teach them virtually. But what happens when all this is over? What if you could get started on building the audience you need now and also in the future for your online offerings or in-person offerings? By now, you know the value of an audience, but most people don't know where to start or how to keep it going. I've created this program just for you at this time. Audience Building Basics Startup is a 10-week program designed to get you consistently posting on social media to grow your audience now. We'll demystify all the nitty-gritty of where to post, what to post, and when, and the goal is to have you confident and never wondering what to post anymore. I'll also introduce the concept of a mailing list, which is really old-fashioned, but it's the best way to reach people, and it's really the most powerful for your future offers. If this is something you're interested in, email me as soon as possible at crushingclassical@gmail.com. Because of the situation musicians are in right now, I've priced this program so affordably, and it is by far the most inexpensive way to work with me right now, maybe even ever. This program starts April 8th, so you have to hurry. Email me as soon as possible to find out more at crushingclassical@gmail.com. Let's get started.
Okay.
Yeah. SHANA Tucker in the house.
I'm here, literally in the house.
In my actual house.
Your house is nice. I like your floors.
Thanks. I just had them redone. I've been talking about it on Instagram.
It smells like it.
Yeah.
It's like that wonderful smell of progress, but you're like, I cannot be sniffing this too long because I might pass out.
I know.
But it looks great. If I fell on the floor, I'd wake up and I'd be like, ooh, these floors are nice.
Exactly. Believe me, it smelled a lot worse a few days ago. So, yeah. But it looks good.
It looks great.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So eventually we'll have our furniture spread out around the house and not just in one room like it is now.
Yes.
But it's so cool. This is the room where we usually practice contempo when we do our contempo rehearsals.
It is.
Back here. Mm-hmm. I'm so grateful. Okay, so let me give a little background. SHANA Tucker is my good friend, and she's a cellist and singer, and I met her like really kind of happenstance because I decided after years of like not actually going for it, always saying, it would be cool if I had my own ensemble. But that I thought that it was just a pipe dream, like, oh, other people do that, or that's not possible for me, or I don't have money. How can I have an ensemble with musicians if I don't have ways to pay them yet? And I had a million reasons why I was avoiding taking steps towards it because I was afraid, and I just made up reasons. Sure, money would be nice, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the reason why people don't get together and create something. So I just took a leap and I contacted a classical person that I know who knows more musicians outside the classical world because as a classical musician, in my little world of tunnel vision and complete like blinders on.
Insulated.
Yeah.
It's insulated.
Yeah, I didn't know like there were all these really awesome musicians in Raleigh that would be available or might be available to play with. And so she introduced me to Ed and Jim. Mm-hmm. And then she was there, but kind of one foot in the door, one foot out the door. And finally I was like, okay, never mind, you can't be in the band anymore. And as soon as I said that, the other two were like...
Did you say it like that?
Kind of. Yeah, it was hard too. Because
I'm not your friend anymore. You can't play with my dolls. Come on, Ed and Jim. Let's do this group without her. You did it like that?
It wasn't like that. But I felt really awkward because, you know, knowing that I had to be a leader in that situation and say, like, are we still going to just not rehearse because this one person can't make it? Or are we going to find someone who can? And then as soon as I did that, they were both like, oh my God, we have to contact the SHANA Tucker.
They did not put a the.
They did.
No, they did not. Oh my God.
I think Jim might have said, how about SHANA Tucker? And Ed goes, the SHANA Tucker? And I think it was right around when maybe you hadn't been back in Durham as long yet. Yeah. And so they were like, oh my God, she's back. And she's staying this time.
That's so right, because I was gone for 5 years.
Yeah, so I want to know more about that. But tell me, so you went to school as a cello major?
I did. I started out actually at Howard University as a music business major.
Okay.
Because in high school, you know, like my cello learning journey, I don't know. It was largely auditioning for the next thing. Like, right. I grew up on Long Island, and there was Long Island String Festival because it was like, you know, legitimate rep is probably, you know, there's like, you know, the stuff you get, the abridged version of Brandenburg that everybody learns in, like, you know,
this is like high school,
whatever. Yeah. And then high school, junior high school, like my joy was Long Island String Festival. SCMEA is Suffolk County music, you know, all county.
Yeah.
And then there was all state, and then there was all Eastern. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know any of this music. I don't even know if I knew that it was called rep or excerpts. I don't, you know, I wasn't taking lessons until maybe like 11th grade or something like that.
Okay.
And lessons has quotes around it because my teacher was wonderful, but it was coaching. Like, in retrospect, I realized it was coaching for the audition. You're going to need to know 3 of these 5 scales. So pick 3.
It wasn't like deep into technique or anything.
No, I wasn't. No, because when I finally started learning cello, fast forward to, you know, like I said, I started out as a music business major at Howard. Mostly because I knew that I didn't have chops for classical solo cello work. Absolutely not. You know, I went to a summer of an internship with the National Symphony Orchestra, and part of it was that you take lessons with the principals, and I was keenly aware in those lessons how much I did not know about some daggone cello. I was like, oh my God, I'm looking around the room, right? But to me, this room is like, you know, I'm looking around DC, and I see, you know, whenever we had to play with students from Catholic or American or GW, and, you know, not even music majors were just like smoking me and my little think I can play cello chops, right? So I said, I'm not going to major in an instrument that I really don't know enough about to compete and also spend this kind of money on a degree that I can't use, you know? But always wanted to support the arts in some way, shape, or form. Kind of smart, just saying. Humble brag, just a little intelligent. So I was like, and not argumentative, but I'm just like, I like to see justice. And so I'm like, well, I know a lot of musicians who don't know anything about the business side of music, right? And I I like talking to people. I mean, I was kind of shy back then, but like I figured that networking, I knew what networking was, and I knew that if you have something of value, whether it's intellect or talent or a combination of both, that you can talk yourself into some situations. You can become a conduit,
Right.
you know, and introduce people here. You can be behind the scenes and be very successful. So that's why I was like, oh, music business, I got that.
So, did you have a career path in mind, like an actual kind of job you wanted?
Well, I knew enough about the industry at the time. We're talking about like early 90s, right? I knew enough to know that a lot of the conversations begin and end with an attorney. You know, like here is talent, and let me introduce you to record label, person
Okay.
at record label. Let me introduce you to manager. Like everybody, if you're doing a certain level of business in the music business, everybody needs an attorney because contracts,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, and I knew a couple of attorneys at the time who I had asked them some pointed questions like, okay, so really, how much money can we make up in this piece, right? So, I mean, is it worth it, or is this like, are we doing this for the art? And both women that I asked were like, no, it's both. You can have a sustainable, viable career. You just have to be tough, and a whole bunch of other suggestions and sage words of wisdom. And you know, going to Howard is like, that was one of the best choices that I ever made, from a social standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, from a musical standpoint, because that's where I realized that people my age were like playing jazz in this phenomenal way, and singing, and just like the level of talent that goes through the College of Fine Arts there is just amazing.
Is that when you started singing?
No, I mean, I was singing in high school.
Okay.
That was a part of the all state, all county, all Eastern journey too, as singer.
Was it like
and
chorus?
cellist.
Like you did chorus and orchestra
I did.
separate?
Yeah, so like I would alternate years.
Okay.
But that's where Howard was where I started writing songs.
Ah, okay.
And I was.
And you're introduced to jazz there.
But see, so here's the thing, and this is why I'm glad that you started out by saying, you know, there's all these reasons why you don't do something, and you talk yourself out of not doing something, right? That was me at Howard. I was like, I'm seeing saxophones and trumpet and drums and piano and vocalists, and you know, and with young men and women doing all of this, right? And I'm like, this is so awesome, and they sound so great, and they're my age or a little older or a little younger, and I wish I could play like that. And now I know that all I had to do was knock on, you know, Professor Dawkins' door, Professor Irby's door, and just be like, hey, I know I play cello, but I want to learn how to play like this. Like,
right.
All these things going through my head. I didn't join gospel choir because I'm not a vocal major. I didn't ask anybody about learning how, or just like sitting in on certain ensembles, or just like learning, because I didn't play a jazz instrument. You know? My knowledge of what jazz is as an idiom and as a whole vibe, like a whole, you know, like a way of life, it limited me, because I was like, oh, I don't play a horn instrument, so I play cello, I can't play jazz,
right?
And that was dumb, I realize.
But yeah, you know, like when you're in college and you're in your 20s or late teens, you're just looking around and informing yourself on what you see and making statements to yourself that you think are true, because at that age you don't question whether or not what you see is just the way or not. More? Yeah. Right.
And also, like, again, early 90s, there wasn't no internet, so it's not like you just go click Google, let me find some cellists who play jazz. It's not that they didn't exist, you know.
Do you ever wonder, like, I wonder a lot, what my path would have been like differently if there was like the Googles that we have now.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
I think that's a slippery slope for me. Because I'm already like, oh, squirrel. You know, I'm already just a little too easily distracted. So it was good for me to I think to find out, like, there's what I do wish and wonder is what my life would have been like if there had been a stronger jazz program in my high school, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why, see, this is me being a squirrel, because we probably have to come back to this, but it's one of the reasons why it's so important to me when I do my teaching artist work to go in and talk about improvisation on cello.
Yeah. With
third graders, you know, talk about using your voice as an improvised tool, improvisational tool.
Yeah.
Improviser. What other kind of way can we say improvise? You know, like we're talking about scat with middle schoolers.
That's amazing.
Because why not? You know,
right.
You carry your voice around with you all the time. Why would you?
Yeah. And even though there's Google, if you don't know what you don't know. So like if a fourth grader is not going to say, I wonder what scat is, you know, if they never heard of it.
Right.
So.
Or they'll tell you, as I learned, because they know all about earth science. I thought scat was what you find out when you're on a nature trail. Do you know what animal it was? I thought that was what scatting is. So, yeah.
It's cute. So after music business school.
So, yeah. So
What happened next?
The idea for entertainment law was pretty solid.
Oh, you were thinking about law.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was totally like gonna do that, go follow that path. My mom had when I was in high school, she got her JD, and she was able to do that with 3 kids at home, married, and a dog, working in the city and then going to school at night. So I was like, oh, if you can go to law school with all that going on, I can go to law school with just me, right? You know? And Howard has an amazing law school, so I just figured this is the path, right? Okay. This makes sense. But then I started performing with a trio called Hugh. And Hugh started out as a you know, in the course catalog piano trio class. So rep, you know, Haydn trios, Beethoven trios. Like,
oh, okay.
That's what the obligation was. For student recital happens every Friday. Mm-hmm. But it's deviated because the women that were in the class were well versed in classical ayal, right? They did other stuff. And so I see these 3 women that look like me, you know, young black women, show up on stage, start singing. What? I look down, nobody's got shoes on. Then the cello player is like playing like it's a bass, and then they're all like, you know, doing like, you know, black women, like we move our necks a lot, right? So we're like, you know, singing and like with all of this like just attitude and like force, right? And I was like, okay, want to do that because those are my peers. I didn't even know that was a thing. They're singing Michael Jackson. They go from a jazz standard like, you know, Surrey with the Fringe on Top, kind of usually like the more obscure standards, and then they go to something like really heavy and weighty like Strange Fruit, Billie Holiday's version but a cappella, and then they go and they play some daggone classical excerpt, just a little, so that you know that they know what they're doing, and then they play, I don't know, more Michael Jackson. You know, I'm just like, this is what I want to do. This is my life. I didn't even know this was a thing. I can do that. Saint-Saëns, I can't do that. Right. I'll let the others do that. But this I can totally do. And then, you know, the realities of school at a private university is like, who's paying this bill?
Right.
And I wasn't sure at that point, am I going to be a performance major? Am I going to be what am I going to still continue this entertainment law thing? What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to take a sabbatical. So, plus I lived in DC, and it was so fun. DC is not the same DC as it was when I lived there. In the just before the turn of the century, darling. It was like it was
late 90s.
Late 90s, mid early to mid 90s. It was still kind of rough and real, and beautiful. Some parts neglected, some parts like not ever neglected, but like there were so many different variations between the quadrants, right? So I don't think I ever told you this.
No.
Yeah, so I took some time off because I was like, I need to find out how I can spend money or how I can pay for school wherever I'm going. So I went to Dudley's Beauty College.
What?
I was doing hair, girl. I was like, I see all these salons in here. My stepmother, she does very well in Memphis. She's got several salons. So I was like, I can do this. I mean, my hair always looks bright, right? I also have a cute situation.
So you went to beauty school.
I went to Dudley's Beauty College for like 3 months. It was not for me. Let's just say that. Beauty school dropout. It's like, whoa. Yeah, I was like, what? Nobody's wearing finger waves. Why do I have to learn how to do finger waves? This is ridiculous. Miss Tucker, those are the rudiments. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to spend time to do this. Because really all I wanted to do was learn enough to own a salon so that the salon could make money for me so that I could go back to school.
That's not exactly a quick route to passive income,
realize
right?
Realize that. So that's what made me go back to cello. I was performing with Hugh, and we were doing pretty well around the city. And I was like, but I really need my degree. Like, this is crazy. Like, I am, I guess, 3rd generation degree holding. Is that right? Mm-hmm. 3rd, 4th on my dad's side. Okay. And so it's like a thing, right? It's just a thing you do.
Yeah.
So I said, I think I should go back to school, and I want to live in New York because here we go with the songs. We go from beauty school dropout to if I can make it there. So I was like, for real, this is probably...
Yeah.
So I looked up cello teachers, and I found...
Did you finish your degree, you said? Or no?
Mm-mm.
You didn't?
No, because I took sabbatical.
Right.
That's got quotes around it. From Howard. And then I found myself at Dudley's Beauty College.
Right.
And that was not even
and you dropped
that
out.
Was crazy. Yes, it dropped. Just one day just didn't go anymore. And then
I did that at a restaurant job once.
You just didn't show up?
Just didn't go. Yeah.
And how'd that work out for you?
I just was supposed to be there at 6 a.m. and I just woke up at 8:30, like,
I'm not going.
on purpose. I was like, because it was a breakfast gig, and I was like, am I insane?
I don't even do this.
Yeah.
I never get up this early for anything.
That's the only time I was a no-call, no-show.
Ooh.
But I did it.
How'd you feel?
Liberated.
Yeah. Did you, did they call you and were you like, I'm not answering that?
I think, yeah.
You didn't even call and be like, I'm not coming back.
No.
Tracy.
Ooh, so bad, right?
Well, I feel, you know what? We all have to do something like that.
I was 22, I think. Yeah.
Yes. But, I feel like some of us have to do that to know that we are never going to do that again. That's real shady and horrible. And
right.
So you've never done it
It's done.
again.
Right. I never did it again. Yeah. I don't recommend it, but
you should see if the place is still open and call them and just be like, hi, my name is Tracy Friedlander. This is my maiden name when I was working there a long time ago. And one day I just didn't show up and I just had to tell somebody, okay, thanks, bye.
It was called Hillary's. It was in Wicker Park. So I don't know. I have to check. It was a breakfast joint.
You need to.
I should fess up.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, see if they even are still open.
It's in Chicago?
Yeah.
So the next time you're in Chicago, just go there. If they're there, just go there and be like, at 6 a.m.
Be like, I'm here for my shift.
No, whoever takes your order, just be like,
I quit.
So listen, in 1990, when was it?
It was probably 99.
In 1999,
or
I was
98.
you, and I created a catastrophe for this shift with my no call, no show. So I'm going to leave you a bigger tip to assuage my guilt.
I
Thank
hope
you.
the same person wasn't working there still.
She'd be like, it was you! Okay, anyway.
So you went to New York.
So I went to New York.
You no call, no showed on the beauty school.
I sure did. I did. But they already had, I mean, that was different because they had my tuition. So
Okay.
that was, they didn't care.
They didn't care if you didn't show up.
They didn't care. But I found Marian Feldman. And Marian Feldman is this amazing human being, cello guru. And she and I just like was doing, because I guess by 98, the internets.
The internets were born.
Had the internets. We had the internet, the interwebs. So I was able to find her, and I saw that she was at Manhattan School of Music and NYU, and this place called Brooklyn College. And I was like, Brooklyn College? That sounds fun. It's in Brooklyn. When I lived on Long Island, I was scared of Brooklyn. So this will be an adventure. But let me tell you, Def Comedy Jam used to come on TV, and I think that they filmed at BAM, Brooklyn Academy of Music. So I'm thinking, oh, this is the school where I'm going to BAM. Girl, I had my whole like application in, audition date, everything. I researched where BAM was, got off the train for BAM in downtown, like right at Atlantic, like in the middle heart of Brooklyn. No, wrong. Brooklyn College is at the end of the two. The end.
Did you miss your audition?
I didn't, because that was the one time I was very early.
Oh, good.
It's the one time in my life I was very early. No, and I was like, well, Brooklyn College, so it's not the same thing at all. I was young. There we go. I was thinking I was 22.
I feel like I've totally done stuff like that before.
I think it's 22.
Just show up to the wrong place. Just yeah.
But I was intentionally just insisting that Brooklyn College was Brooklyn Academy of Music. So wrong. So I get to my audition, and Marian is there, and the orchestra director, Harry Saltzman, is there. And I played the required audition stuff, and then I played some of my improvisational things. And Marian...
Did you sing?
I didn't sing. I didn't, because that's when I was going back for cello performance.
Okay.
Which I wound up getting my degree from Brooklyn College Conservatory of Music in violoncello performance. Thank you very much.
Viola too?
Violoncello.
Oh, violoncello.
Yes, the full name.
I thought you said viola and cello.
Viola and cello.
Like
viola and
like
apostrophe.
Cookies and cream. Viola and cello.
Peanut butter and jelly. Viola and cello. That's a new viola joke.
I was like, you play viola?
Girl, you
Why didn't you
tell
say
me anything this whole time. We could have had you doubling. God, Shauna. No, my degree is in cello performance. But when I was auditioning, the Harry, the orchestra director, is like, okay, so do you know anything about music librarianism? Librarian. You know anything about that?
Librarianism.
I don't know if I don't know.
I love that word though.
Librarianism?
Yeah.
I know, right? I think more people would be librarians if that was a word. That would like make an awesome like tote bag, librarianism.
Yeah.
Or a t-shirt. Girl.
It's like it sounds like a movement more than a
hashtag.
Yeah.
Librarianism.
You just invented that.
I'm just trying to tell you, girl. Just
we
trying to keep it relevant.
Hashtag.
Keep it relevant.
Yes. I know.
Yeah, he asked me if I knew what a music librarian do.
So he pegged you as a librarian.
He was like,
on the first day.
We need it. We need it for orchestra.
Oh, because you could get paid?
Because I got full scholarship.
Sweet.
I was like, I'm coming in from out of state. He was like, whatever, semantics. I was like, word up. I didn't even know this college existed before today. And here I am with a full scholarship, for real.
That's amazing.
It's a true story. Yeah, so
is that why you wrote a song called Semantics? Not exactly the same thing.
Not exactly the same thing.
So go on. So sorry for the I didn't mean to.
As you know, we're friends. Like this is how our
This is
whole
how we
life
talk.
is.
This is why we actually never get to the point. But we're working on getting to a really good point here.
Yes.
So did you major or you just
wait. Let me finish telling you. So
Okay.
Marion says, I just need to ask you something. And I'm like, okay. And she said, why are you so nervous when you play classical stuff? But like you play this improvisational thing here. And like, it's just like, I saw you. I heard you for the first time. Like, what is that about? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, again, 22, I don't think I
Right.
had the words to articulate
Right.
that classical music stresses me TF out. It just is very stressful. Like my
it
whole
has to be perfect.
audition, the whole idea of auditions and judging, like the judgment. And it's not even that that's like even always a thing, but that was my perception.
It largely feels like that.
That's what it felt like for me. And that's
and competitive.
Ugh. And nobody, like my memory of auditions are like, no, if there's chairs and there's 3 people in the chair waiting to go in, nobody's looking at each other and everybody's listening to each other, but everybody's trying to act like they're not like listening. Like that's my experience. Right. And I'm like, no bueno, man. I am too social to be acting like I don't see everybody else in the room. Right. And if you sound great, I'm gonna tell you. It takes nothing away from me to tell you that was a kick-ass audition. Oops. Kick booty.
You can say ass on this podcast. I personally love swearing.
Me too. Can we sidebar on that? No.
Yeah.
Okay. That's another episode. Swearing, they're words too.
Well, I was thinking about it. It adds
yes, it does. It's a thing.
It is. So that's amazing that you realized that about yourself, because I would never have had. I mean, as a horn player, well, it's the same thing. Cello, it's not usually jazz. I didn't think that jazz was. I liked jazz, but never thought like it was just for me. A wall was up. Like I'm a horn player. It's orchestral. This is what I do. But like, without having the awareness, I hated that stuff too.
Yeah.
It felt bad to be in competition and to be like, that person sucks. I'm better than them. I know it. You just, it's there because you feel like there's limits, there's limitations, there's not enough for everybody. Only the select few get the opportunities. You might not make it. You might be out on the street. And like, then you have your parents going, are you even going to be able to support yourself? And you don't have the answer.
That's not stressful.
Yeah. And then you go audition and you spent $500 to get there and you're kicked out after 3 minutes. And it's the life is.
No, plus, I mean, at least for me, there is the added measure of before auditions were behind the curtain. How do you say that?
Behind the screen.
Behind the screen. How about the realities of America, which is if you look brown like me and you show up in a place where brown is not even a thing, it doesn't matter. I mean,
you can count on one hand how many black people are in orchestras.
Yes. Yeah. It's a thing. It was a thing.
It was.
Right? Thankfully, somebody found a curtain and a screen and they were like, okay, look. Right?
Yeah.
But like there were a lot of barriers for me to make
black and
classical.
A woman too, because the woman thing is a thing.
It's a thing. There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that made me say it is I knew enough about music to know that there's a whole lot of music out here that brings me so much joy. And I see people that are living their best lives, like showing up to gigs where they're not, it's not that it's easy.
Right.
But it's like it satisfies and it feeds and it sustains. And I just could not make it make sense that anybody should be walking away from an experience where you have the opportunity to share your talents, and to bring joy into this world, and somebody is like, like deciding that your joy is not good enough to share. Like that's stupid. I'm just saying. That's me. So I was like, you know what? I write music. I sing like this. I play like this. I'd have a lot of work to do with cello playing, like learning how to play. But I have something of value, and I am going to explore what that is, and I'm going to supplement that value, like that, intrinsic individual value, with theory. Because, girl, my theory as a public school cello player, my mindset was, why do I need to know about chords?
Right.
I don't play. I mean, I play piano, but I'm not
You're
playing
like,
piano.
I'm playing
I play
music.
cello.
It's fine.
I play a part. Like, there's no chords on my.
Yeah.
Why do I need to
So
know
you needed
chord
to learn
quality?
that.
Had to learn that.
Yeah.
Sight reading. Your training in sight singing, very different from sight reading. That's one of the funniest classes I've ever been in, by the way.
Sight singing?
Sight singing. Not just for me, but the reality that everybody's ego has to be recalibrated.
Right.
As soon as you have to conduct and sing at the same time. Oh boy, watch out. Yeah. Even the flyest of the fly, the cute guys, were brought back down a couple of notches.
So tell me the evolution from getting to, like, you graduate from Brooklyn College.
Mm-hmm.
Take me from you graduated, you're done, you've arrived, to I'm SHANA Tucker, singer, songwriter, artist, etc.
So I graduated retroactively. I finished all but my senior recital in 2000.
Okay.
But I was about 19 months pregnant.
Oh.
And my son Sebastian came into this world 6 feet tall and 170 pounds. He's a big. So
during college you got married?
Yes, like my final semester I got married. And I needed to, I couldn't sit, I literally could not hold my cello and be pregnant at the same time. That was just like not even
That's one instrument where playing the cello and being pregnant is
you just can't
harder.
Do it. Unless you're standing, and then even then it's like, what is happening? No, it's just not even a thing. So I was like, oh, like my friends that I see all the time with babies in their little rocking thing that's over by the piano, it's in the corner, they're teaching lessons, everything is great. I'm going to do that too. And wrong. Hi, not me.
You don't want to teach lessons like that?
Well, I just there was no space in my brain to do anything but figure out how to be a mom.
Some people make it look easy. I know I didn't.
Nobody should have been taking notes on how if they wanted perfection, if they wanted, like, keep it real, take all the notes you want. Because, like, right now, this is,
Yeah.
So, no, we moved from Brooklyn and moved to DC and then North Carolina. And so that was like, 2000. I attempted to finish my degree in 2004 and sent a video of my senior recital, and they were like, nope, sorry, you got to come up here and do a whole semester.
Oh, because you had a couple credits left. I
had my senior recital left.
Oh,
but they were like, this time has lapsed. It's been too, so you got to come up here at least, I think, once or twice a month and take lessons and then do your senior recital up here and then.
I vote you get an honorary degree from them by now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, retroactively, I was like, this is crazy, because we had moved down to North Carolina, and in this area, degree, everybody's, so what'd you go to school for? So what is your... So you were pregnant with Sebastian before you, like, broke into any kind of scene in New York where you were playing? I was performing with Hugh, with the group.
Oh, with Hugh. Okay.
But not as a solo artist.
Okay.
And then the group disbanded. Okay. And then I moved, and it's just like had all these, like, And
now you're a new mom, and you're in a new place.
Yeah, and I don't know I knew what I didn't want to do with music. I knew that I was not trying to, be a wedding singer.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the heart for that. And,
right.
And I was playing with Raleigh Civic Chamber Orchestra.
Uh-huh.
Just to keep chops up. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do with music until I had to know, which was fast forward, when my now ex-husband and I split. I was like, I know how to support myself as a musician. And so that's when I started searching for people in the area to play music with, or who had jazz sensibilities, but also pop sensibilities, but also, like, we're in North Carolina, so there's like the old-timey roots, Americana, blues, like everything is down here, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when I started performing as SHANA Tucker, like 2009, I played a CD. I'll never forget. So we have a restaurant called Irregardless Cafe.
Yeah.
Have we ever eaten there together?
No, but I know they have live music there a lot.
They do. That's one of the first places I ever played. And you put the tip jar out.
Yeah.
And in the tip jar, somebody had asked for like extra receipt paper, and they wrote, please make a CD. Your music is beautiful. And I was like, oh my God. And then people started asking, where's your CD? Like, where can is somebody selling your CD? And I'm like, I don't have, not if you have one, but where is it?
Yeah. Oh, wow. They just assumed.
They just assumed. That's a great look when people just assume.
Yeah.
Right? So I figured I need to do something about that. And that's when I decided to record Shine, which made its way into the world in 2011. And then somewhere in mid-2011 is when the, what are those people called? Talent Scouts. That's right. What's your name again? Talent Scouts. From Cirque du Soleil heard the interview that I did, that was syndicated on NPR. Okay. About playing cello, about taking time off from the cello, which was about 5 years. I didn't play a lot at all.
How'd you get that interview?
There was a producer that lives here in the area that had come to one of my little shows and bought the CD, and she reached out to me and was like, I work for this show called The Story, which is the national thing.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in doing an interview? I was like, yeah. So, yeah, that's really where everything started. So when Cirque du Soleil, first of all, Cirque du Soleil was not anywhere on my radar. Like, to me, as an independent artist, single mom, never home because I'm trying to work, right? Every time Cirque du Soleil comes through and it's all beautiful and extravagant and expensive.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You didn't go?
No, I don't know. I know what it is, but I don't never experience it. So it never occurred to me that what I do is something that they would need. But clearly it was, because I wound up getting that gig and staying there for 5 years.
5 years.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the retroactive degree comes in. Because while I was out there, Marion Feldman, super shero, she comes up, she sends me an email and she's like, hey, so some things have changed at Brooklyn College. I'm not teaching there this semester, but they sent me a box of my stuff, and your DVD from your senior recital was in the box. Do you want me to submit it to administration just to see if they will accept that as your final thing so you can graduate? I was like, girl, It's fat, meat, greasy. Yes, I want you to do that, please. So I wound up getting my degree in 2012.
Oh,
for
nice.
2001.
You graduated.
I did.
Yay.
I know, all that long story to tell you that I graduated retroactively.
So what was Cirque du Soleil like? And I know that you've told me before that monetarily...
Monetarialism. Yeah. Librarianism.
Money-wise, that was a really great move for you because, as a single mom, trying to make it as an independent artist, as, all the things that had gone,
all the things.
And as as somebody who knows the freelance world, it's hard enough to break into a freelance world where there's sort of, it's set up that you could come play this gig, we need a cello, but you're not even in this genre now. Right. So you have to figure out how to make money.
Right.
And that's probably, that's the big question for every person who decides to be an independent artist. And that's the thing about classical musicians. Like, while that competitiveness and all that stuff exists, classical musicians never have to think like a business person, because they have this like other path where you could get a job and get paid by someone else and show up when you're supposed to show up and play the music on the stand, which is on one hand kind of cool, and on one hand not, because there's not enough of those jobs. And so everyone trains to be going for that, but there's not enough. So then they're left with, I don't have the skills to think like a business person, and I don't have one of those jobs. So I want to hear, like, in terms of going to Cirque du Soleil, maybe that probably initially that was really fun, and maybe it wasn't your creation, so it wasn't like 100% yours, but you were able to make money. And so, like, from the point of view of doing a job that aligns somewhat, maybe that probably a lot more than like some kind of office job or some crap like that. Like, you were playing music, you were singing, you're performing. What did that do for you? And also, like, what's your point of view about, two-part question, about like going and making some money to support yourself when you need to?
I'm going to answer your two-part question in my squirrel way.
Okay.
But I promise you I will not diverge from the two parts. So I remember clearly, I'm right now, when I close my eyes, I'm sitting on my mother's porch, because I had to move back home, because, I had gotten a gig, working for a festival, doing research and development, and then that contract came to an end, and there was nothing else. Like, again, with me wanting to always, if I'm not performing, then I need to do something that is supporting the arts, and specifically music, in some kind of way. So I couldn't find anything, and so I had to move back home. But at the time, I was still like, I was gigging over here, and I was doing this on first Thursdays, and I was doing this every other Saturday, and I was right? And I just remember sitting on my mom's porch, and I was just like, I said, something has got to give. Like, I can't keep, I was in my 30s at the time. I was like, I can't keep doing this like for 30 more years, just like in the car, rush, packing this, unpacking this, doing this. That is not the life I wanted to live. And that's when that call came in from Cirque, and I really thought that it was a joke, because Google Voice at the time was the only thing that would transcribe your voicemails, and Google Voice is sometimes inaccurate. And Google Voice told me that Roger something from Circuit City called to ask me if I wanted to audition.
Did it really say Circuit City?
Girl, I read that thing 3 times. I was like, who the fuck is calling for Circuit City? Circuit City is not even in. Circuit City was in bankrupt for like a good year, 2 years
at that point.
Circuit City don't need cellists playing. What are you singing at the same time in Las Vegas? What? Right.
You're like, I'm gonna have to listen to this voicemail.
Because I was at a gig, and we were, gig set 3 or 4, I was like, I'll listen to this later, and I listened to the voicemail. I listened to the voicemail 8,000 times, because I was like, did he just say Cirque du Soleil? Girl, I'm in the car by myself. Girl, he just said Cirque du Soleil.
You're talking to yourself.
Yes. Cirque du Soleil. Let me check this. It's 702. Where's 702? I don't know anything about 702. 702 is a girl group or something from, some R&B group. Anyway, I was like, this is real. Let me calm down, because what if the music is above me? Right? So I called Roger back, and I was like, hey, what's up? Trying to be chill and real, like, keep it down the middle. And he's like, oh yeah, so we heard your interview and want to know if you'd be interested in audition. I was like, well, can I see the music first? And he's like, sure, no problem. We'll send it over. And the whole time I'm just like sweating because I'm like, please let this music be not crazy because
What was it like?
it wasn't crazy. It wasn't crazy. Like in retrospect, I probably should get a new fingerboard because the show is primarily in D. And so like all of the patterns that I played 10 shows a week, probably made some dents, right? But no, it was doable, and the role called for someone who could play and sing equally.
Awesome.
So I was like, I can do this. I'm gonna audition, and I got my friend Erica to hold up. She held up like cue cards because it's what I call Cirque du Soleil language. Like it's not any language; it's gibberish, right?
Oh.
And I was like, I can't be reading the music while I'm on my audition tape. That's crazy. So girl, I'll show you some of that footage one day. It's very funny.
Okay.
But I had just...
I'm Tracy Friedlander, and you've been listening to the Crushing Classical podcast. You can follow Crushing Classical on Instagram and Facebook at Crushing Classical. If you haven't yet, you can go to Apple Podcast and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Your reviews help others to find these conversations. Thanks for listening.
Something has got to change. And then, lo and behold, this opportunity to make more money than I've ever made in my life at the time, playing music, and not in some rinky-dink, as a carny would have to put on a fake mustache to be the bearded woman or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a legitimate opportunity with one of the top
performing ensembles.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what do you call this?
It is definitely
This is top in the industry, right?
For sure. Everyone knows what Cirque du Soleil is.
Right.
So, this really, it's so funny because our lives, a little similar right around then. 30s is when I was in this place in my career in Chicago where I was freelancing and waiting tables and going, something's got to give because I don't know. I remember looking at my calendar going, what happens after this month?
Right.
I have nothing on the calendar.
Right.
And that's how every month was. Like you'd go, and then just in the nick of time, you get called for a couple more orchestra gigs. And then in between, I'd be begging them, if I let go of a bunch of shifts at the restaurant.
Can I get them back?
Right.
Yes.
I remember I played with the Chicago Symphony for like 6 weeks, but then when I was done, I'm done.
Then you're done. There's nothing.
There's nothing. And then Twisted Spoke is like, sorry, the patio's closed, so we don't need 4 servers anymore. And I'm like,
what am I going to do?
Yeah. So after doing that for so long was when I was like, screw it, I'm going to China. Crazy. And I was like, at a certain point, I was like, maybe I'm going to live in China. But I knew deep down I didn't want to live in China. I wanted to be here. So, but I went there.
What were you doing in China?
I played with the Beijing Symphony for 3 months.
Really?
Yeah. And it was really good for the fact that I had tons of time to practice. Because my only job was to go to rehearsal from 9 to 12, which was never full 3 hours. We always got out a little earlier. And then I had the rest of the day.
That's awesome.
So I would go home and I would practice and, alternate that with watching shows and then take a break, practice. I practice so much. And got ready for all these auditions. And then when I was the runner-up for this job in North Carolina, that was when it was another one of those, I had to move home. I was living at home, and I was 30.
Yeah.
And I'm going,
what the heck?
What the heck?
Right.
I'm 30?
Right.
I'm living in my bedroom that I grew up in.
Right.
Terrible. So it was weird because I thought I was really attached to Chicago is where I have to make it. This is a real city. I gotta be here. What if Chicago Symphony calls me again? And then a friend of mine was just like, who was in this orchestra, was like, dude, are you gonna wait for the phone to ring your whole life?
Make some shit
Are you gonna
happen.
make some actual... it wasn't a real position, just like you probably didn't know how long Cirque du Soleil would last. Yeah. But I knew that they said you can play as an extra for the whole season until you decide you don't want to do that anymore.
Similar. Similar. Because Cirque was annual contracts for me. And, nobody's holding you hostage. Right. It can be a mutually agreeable thing. You can say, I've decided to do something different. They could say, we've decided to do something different. But you have a year to figure it out.
And it's weird because by the time you're 30, you have kind of an idea of what you expected your life to be like at 30. Mm-hmm. And so that's what makes the decision hard.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't expect
Or easy.
Or easy.
Or easy.
Yeah, that's true. Because it was sort of an easy, hard decision. Like, it was easy in the way of, do you want to know how much money you're making for the whole year?
Right.
Like, imagine that kind of craziness.
You should try that out. Try it on for size.
Yeah.
You might like it.
Yeah.
But even in saying that, I don't know if this was the same for you, but for me, to have the space in my mind and in my existence to think about what am I going to do, next year. Because I had time to like sit still for a moment and like, yes, collect a check. I mean, I was doing something for that check,
Yeah.
And I know for me, I don't know if this is like this for anybody else, but it is not the easiest thing. It was not the easiest thing for me to go from playing music that I write or that I arrange in spaces that are different every night. And, so many different factors affect what is going to be different about the way I sing this same song versus going there and having to play the same way 10 shows a week.
Yep.
And make every single one of them sound like this is the first inspired time that you play it, That is a mindset that it took me a good 2-3 years to like perfect. But I had the space to think about during the day because I didn't have a practice at the time. So I was just like, oh, I'm going to build my independent artist career during the day and wake up at 6 o'clock to get emails out on the East Coast by 9-10 o'clock and stay in touch that way. And so in that way, I was able to build my independent artist business while I was collecting a check at my day job that happened at night. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think so.
So let's fast forward to your, at a certain point, you left Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, because I was there for 5 years, 5 contract years. And I realized, like, I was getting calls for SHANA Tucker independent artist playing that just kept, escalating, like, I realized when I had to turn down the opportunity to play a music festival in Cuba because I couldn't be gone from the show that long, I was like, I should leap of faith. It's time.
Yeah.
And
you probably had money in the bank a little bit, hopefully. Yeah,
I had enough money in the bank for me to not feel like, what am I gonna do?
Right.
Paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
I just was like, if I can make this kind of money playing someone else's music, then I know that I can make this much or more doing what I'm meant to do.
So that's like a little bit of a money mindset thing right there. You just proved to yourself you're capable of pulling in that level of income. Mm-hmm. Now you just need to transition it over there. But as the years went by, like you said, the kind of gigs you're being offered, like the presenters were saying, we'll pay you this, and it's like, okay. Right. And the festivals and stuff, Cuba would have been awesome. But
I'm still gonna go. Just one of these days. But I think, I don't want to downplay the reality of like the associative benefit of Cirque du Soleil. Like it's always interesting to me now performing when presenters are like, and she performed with Cirque du Soleil, ladies and gentlemen, SHANA TUCKER, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I wish you wouldn't do that. Not because Cirque du Soleil is a wonderful thing. For me, it served me very well at a time in my life when I needed stability, when I needed consistency, and when I needed to fund my own business. Right. I did have the mindset to know that there's a certain business acumen, or at least you have to start thinking about your artistry as a business while you're growing it. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Right.
But I realized that it is a calling card. Cirque du Soleil is a calling card, and it allowed me to sort of springboard back into my independent artistry at a different level, because I had time to think about how I wanted to be intentional about my independent artistry. I was surrounded by people who are just functioning at a higher creative level, like period, and doing many, many different things very, very well. So the bar of what I was doing and how I was showing up on stage for my own stuff changed. And also, Cirque du Soleil kind of gives people something to expect. Like, not necessarily that I'm going to show up with my face painted like I did there, or start singing, words that don't make sense, but the caliber of musicianship.
Right. That's awesome. I love that. So now you are a singer-songwriter, independent artist, soloist, recording artist, teaching artist.
Yes.
And a member of Contempo Ensemble.
Yes, also I can dance a little too.
Tell me a little bit about how the two pieces of the puzzle go together to create an income that is sustainable, that you can live on.
Okay.
Because I like to bring it back to the business piece, and also to, that you're taking all your unique abilities and talents and putting it together, not just for performing, but for education. That helps the income piece, but also helps you do another thing that you're passionate about, spreading the word about that kids in 3rd grade can know what scat is other than poop on a trail. So tell me how you weave these two things together.
Yeah.
And how that's really, and how the education piece has solidified like more of the financial piece. Because I know you've told me a little bit about how, like, when you offer something to a presenter, like, when you can say, I could be here for a week, and I could do this, that, and that during the day with kids, like, now your value has just gone up as far as what you can get paid, right?
Yeah. It is, yes, kind of. It's, let's see. So, to speak to the last point, it has been my experience that in the world of finding funding to present a thing, that there's many more opportunities to fund, whether it's grassroots or emergency grant or some other type of funding that you can apply for.
Okay.
When you're offering outreach, community engagement.
Okay. This is a good piece to bring up.
If you were comparing the two, let me write a grant to present this performance where I have to sell tickets, or where people have to come, and the assessing what the value is in that, what is the takeaway for the attendees, versus community engagement, where it might be free, but we're getting funding to cover the cost for an artist to be here. But the value that it brings to the community, the awareness, like the teachable moments, and also performance, the performative part, like all of that can be combined in this thing. And so I have found that to authentically offer an outreach or community engagement experience, in addition to my performance, that has a different value, because it's not just a one-off where, okay, come see SHANA Tucker the artist, and then you might sell tickets, you might not. There's no guarantee that you can do that. But if you are going into a school, you kind of have a built-in audience, unless you're at teacher workday, and even then it's the teachers are there, So,
and the kids are there to learn. So
the kids
if you
are there
have,
to learn.
Yeah.
And also I will never, I understand the logistics of an all ages show versus, if you do a show at a bar, then it's a 21 plus because local jurisdictions dictate that alcohol served means minors. There's a thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So where are young people supposed to learn how to be an audience member? Where are young people supposed to experience live music? When and where? Unless you have an all ages show, and everybody's not interested in doing an all ages show. Plus, some music just sounds better with alcohol. Let's be honest. Let's just be honest, So these moments of what I call informances is where I can go into a school and say, hey y'all, I'm just a regular person. I saw you at the Harris Teeter grocery shopping. Don't you live on such and such? Oh yes, let's teach, let's learn, let's talk about song form, let's talk about tempo and dynamics and emotions and melody and all these things that we pour into this 45-minute experience. Standard, I because I'm my teaching artistry has brought me to organizations like Wolf Trap Institute for Early Learning Through the Arts. I'm a teaching artist there. A+ Schools of North Carolina. I'm a fellow with that organization, and this is where I learned about the importance of inserting standards and being intentional about what standards we're addressing and how to assess the information, how to assess what before we have our experience. All of this stuff matters because that's when it becomes not just an entertainment piece. It's cultural, it's educational, it's creative, it's all of those things. It's arts education,
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of opportunities to do that through local arts councils. Usually have programs like United Arts Council of Raleigh and Wake County has an excellent Artists in Schools program. Durham Arts Council is in our area too. They have the CAPS program. If you look at different performing arts centers and theaters in your area, check and see what their family series looks like. Check and see what their Saturday series is like. Any place where they're offering, concerts for children is an opportunity for you to think about your art and your music and how you can craft that in a way that is age appropriate. And that is, honestly, I have to tell you, Tracy, I think I enjoy that work the most. I love performing, but I really love my teaching artist work.
You're so good at it too. And I get really inspired when I see what you do with kids because in the classical world, especially I've played hundreds upon hundreds of, maybe even into the thousands. Yeah, because for 10 years I played like 70 shows, so whatever that is. And it's always the same. It's an orchestra concert. They have the same format. They teach the same things. It's an orchestra. There's no singer. Mm-hmm. It's not the type of music they listen to. And I'm not saying there's no value in that. There is value in learning about that genre. Mm-hmm. And orchestra is awesome, and I love it.
And it informs other things, too.
It does. It does. Like a teamwork thing where all these people are together on the stage, and they have to coordinate with the conductor. And there's a lot of value in that. But it's not interactive most of the time as much as like what you do. I mean, there is a little interaction with like a sing-along type thing, but you teach kids how to write a song. Like, yes, you give them the ability to take what they have, the skills they have today, right now. And so like, you can do this someday if you start taking lessons and practice for 10,000 hours.
And get an instrument.
17 years.
Get an instrument yet?
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're like, you just interact with the kids like, today, right now, let's learn how to do this. You can take it home and sing it all day.
Your voice, because you already came with your instrument.
Yeah.
And so,
So I just find that so inspiring. I feel like we could talk about teaching artistry for a whole... Maybe that should be a TBA to be announced, to be continued.
It's like part 1 of 2.
Yeah, well, I feel like it has to, because I got to wrap it up.
I know.
Because I'm going to test a little live thing with my future, with another podcast guest, but by the time this one will come out, that one will already been out. So I'll just say it's Babatunde, and we're going to do like live hip opera talk.
I love that.
So that's really exciting because he's transforming the opera world, or he's making people look at opera differently, which I love.
Yes.
And so, but Shauna, I'm so happy that you're here today, and we're gonna have more conversations like this.
We have to, because we got to get into like all the other stuff that we were supposed to talk about, because it was a long list.
I know, yeah.
I'll just be a guest, like quarterly.
Yeah, a recurring guest.
I'd be like, Tracy.
And listen, I'll put your website in the show notes and how to listen to Shana Tucker's music and download and stream and all that jazz.
Will you please also put us a link to Poisonous Frogs?
Yes, because that's my favorite one. Sitting on a log.
Yes, that was the best third grade song written in less than 30 minutes I've ever done.
And they made it up. Poisonous Frogs sitting on a log.
Come on now.
It's amazing.
You'll see. You'll hear.
We'll put the link in the show notes. All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Shauna.
Tracy. This was so fun.
I love it.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.